What's going on, restaurant owners? I want to tell you about the fun we're having and the connections we're making over at Restaurant Unstoppable Network. As a matter of fact, if you're enjoying the podcast, you're going to love the network because the network just mirrors what's happening on the podcast, but we're just going deeper and making connections. Not only am I connecting you with the leading restaurateurs on the podcast, I'm connecting you with the experts that they're going to become unstoppable. Just this week, the co-owners of Relish Bar and Restaurant in Houston, Texas joined us, and they brought their realtor with us, and we went deep into advice on site selection. We also had time to talk about tip pooling. It was great. You don't need to break the bank on restaurant coaching and consulting. All you truly need is peers, people who can reinforce that you are taking the next right best step, and access to an amazing network of the best. I can't wait to see you there. Head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/live. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, Culture Operations VP and VP of Operations Services, Cuyler, Esposito, and Alex Camp. Cuyler, Alex, you guys feeling unstoppable today?
You know it. Yes,
feeling
sir.
unstoppable, ready to go.
I'm stoked to be here. So I was here about a year ago. I got to speak with Garrett and Samir, amazing dudes. I love what you're doing here with Layne's Chicken. The story is really unique. It's really aggressive. Last year, you're at 24 locations. The goal was to get to 44 locations this year. I think you guys got really close. I can't wait to dive into your unique niches. Again, culture, operations, and operations services, both VPs. So this is going to be good. Before we dive into individually each of you and who you are and how you got to where you are today and what's going on here at Layne's Chicken 1 year later, let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
Yeah. Looking back and, going through my past, I think I would lean towards servant leadership, something that was instilled in me in a different position that I was in, and that's just about serving by leading others.
I love it.
Yeah.
And that was Alex on the mic. Get to know the voices.
Yeah.
And what do you got for us, Tyler?
Sure, I think this, it's a quote. It's a quote that comes from my old man, and it'll make more sense as we get into my story and how I got into the restaurant business. But it's dream as if you'll live forever, live as if you'll die today. And it'll all make a lot more sense when we get into the introduction into restaurants and the early part of my career. But It's just something that, I keep with me every day, and we'll dive into why that means so much.
Got it. So before we get into each of your come-up stories, help me understand, where is Laynes today? So last year, 24 locations. I think you guys are at 41 locations
Correct,
today?
yeah.
So it didn't quite hit your goal, but that's still pretty dang close.
Well, we doubled in size. So
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And you came on, Alex, in 2024?
2024, yes, sir.
And
February.
you were here, this is your fourth month. You're new to the team,
Yep,
right?
I came in beginning of December.
Nice.
Yep.
So lots of exciting things happening here at Laynes.
Oh, yeah.
And 41 locations, correct?
Correct.
And what is I guess kind of give me a snapshot, like what's going on?
We're as of today, we're looking to double in size again. So we're looking to add an additional 45 units or more this year.
Okay.
So, the growth potential that we have on the radar is just astronomical.
Yeah.
So, it's a wild ride that we're on, but it's a fun one.
And I can't wait to get into the strategy behind executing this and what you learned from 1 year of doubling in size and how that's going to change over the next year. And just real quick, what is relative to Layne's hot? I talked to so many hot chicken places. I just want to call it hot chicken. Relative to Layne's Chicken Fingers, what does it mean to be a VP of Operation Services? Like, what does that entail?
Yeah, it's a multifaceted role. So, and in different organizations, it can mean different things.
Yeah.
I like to try to summarize it as just the system between all systems, right? So, if you put it into the human body terms, maybe like the nervous system or how it relays information from maybe above to below or below to above. It's just, and it synchronizes all different departments.
And your direct communication, your direct report is to Samir, correct? So
Yes,
you're
sir.
kind of like mini Samir.
Yeah,
Like, in a
mini
sense of
Samir,
like,
yeah, I'll take that.
Like he's like you're in that same realm of operations efficiencies, constantly looking to tweak things.
Correct, 100%.
So how do you guys divide? Like, what does Samir focus on? What do you focus on?
Yeah, so Samir and Garrett and the team, they're all real big picture.
Yeah.
3 years, 5 years, so forth and so on, and they're all about franchise or relationships and just where's the brand going, and what is the presence of the brand, not only today but in the future.
Yeah.
So he really leans on Cuyler, myself, and the other team members here to like, how do we execute against that?
Yeah. And same thing for you, VP of, I've just switched my notes. So many titles. For the record, I'm doing 3 interviews today, so I got a lot in my head. Please forgive me. VP of Culture Operations. What does that entail?
Yeah, sure. So I think the easiest way to, simplify it is I am the eyes, the ears, and the voice of the franchisee. Okay. So everything that we do to get the stores open and everything that's a part of that, and then once they're open and everything is handed over to the operations side of the business, myself and the team, we're the ones who are there to, not only protect the brand, but protect the franchisee, and then make sure that they have a voice at the table when it comes to the support center.
Yeah, I love you said that, because when I was here last year, I think that quote or tagline, protect the brand, protect the franchisee, probably came up like 10 or 15 times. Yeah. That's really your motto as franchisors. You're all about protecting the brand and all about protecting the franchisee. And I meant to give a little teaser. If you guys did not catch the first interviews I did with the founder, or CEO, I should say, because it was not necessarily founded by Garrett. That was, I want to say, 1,119, or sorry, 1,193, and then Samir was episode 1,197. If you want to hit pause right now, go get caught up, listen to those episodes. We kind of go deep into the backstory of Laynes and where they were 1 year ago, and we're kind of picking up where we left off. So again, that was episodes 1,193 for Garrett, the CEO, and 1,197 for Samir, the COO. And that's your job, really, is protect the brand, protect the franchisee. You specifically, you're in between, you're making sure you're the voice for the franchisee, and you're also the voice for the brand. And you're where the rubber meets the road, basically.
100%. I mean, day to day, it's communication, relationship building with the franchisees, and then making sure that what they want to accomplish is being accomplished. And if there is any roadblocks or bottlenecks at the corporate sports center, making sure that I bring those to the team so that we can find, processes and solutions in order to ultimately achieve, the growth and the sales and the profitability that every franchisee wants to hit.
So you kind of think of it in the sense of, Alex, you're kind of like the analytical data. You're looking at all the tech, all the numbers, all the information that's being produced by the actions. And you're more on the qualitative, emotional listening to the front line, pulling back that feedback. This is working, that's not working, and bringing that you're quantitative, Alex, and you would be quantitative, qualitative on the franchisee front for you, Cuyler.
Correct.
So that's really cool. Okay, so who wants to go first in terms of why should we be listening to you guys? Help us understand. What's the backstory? What makes you somebody who's deserving of this position?
Oh, I mean, I can go first, but
let's work left to right. It feels natural.
So backstory, so everything from where I came from and so forth and so on.
Yeah, man, get into it.
Yeah, so born and raised in a small town in East Texas. I say small, let's go mid-size. I don't want to offend them, but it's Tyler, Texas, about 2.5 hours outside of Dallas. Family and I, we lived in a much smaller town just east of that. It's called Edom. So one of those cities out there that just had one stop sign, one gas station, 2 churches. Okay. That kind of a place, right? So very backwoods, back roads, and things of that nature. And then, so living out there's not a lot of opportunities for where you want to get started as a young man in any kind of career. So my parents said, hey, look, we'll buy you a vehicle, at 15. You'll get your learner's permit, and then if you want to put gas in that thing and you want to go do stuff, you're going to have to go get a job. Yeah. Right? So that's what I did. I went and found a job at Taco Bell, and I started off as drive-through and then just kind of worked my way up there and worked there for about 4 years or so until I graduated high school. And
you ended up at Jason's Deli in 2011. So what year were you in high school? And give me a timeline.
Right around, let's say 96 to 2000.
Okay. Yeah. And what were you doing between 2000 and 2011 before going to?
Yeah, there was a little bit of retail. So I worked for an insurance company. I worked for a local Western wear company doing shipping and receiving. Realized that it just really wasn't my gig.
Yeah. What was missing?
The people. Yeah. The people, the atmosphere, the fast pace. Because as going into a restaurant industry as your first job, you really realize, and I think I told Cuyler this maybe yesterday, that the people that work in the restaurants can be a little quirky, to say the least. Right. And that's where I was like, I think I kind of fit in here.
Yeah. I think that's why so many people choose this industry, because you can be yourself.
Yeah, you can be yourself.
Like, what does it mean to be quote unquote professional in the corporate world? It means being very in line and follow. Like, I mean, it's good. Like, I'm not anti-professionalism, but it's so you can work well with a lot of different people. You don't want to offend anybody. So you kind of have to be this like watered down version of yourself.
Yeah.
Right. But in the restaurant industry, we're like, we'll take you.
Yeah.
Like you're good
all
enough.
Cards play. It's 100%.
Yeah. Be yourself. It's really, it feels so good to be you.
Yep.
Yeah. So, 14 years with Jason's Deli. So how did you find yourself with Jason's Deli?
Yeah. So decided the retail side of it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Went and just looked. I mean, this will date me as well, but I mean, went through a newspaper, found an ad for a position as a manager for Jason's Deli in Tyler. Applied, and they said, "Hey, yeah, we'll get you on board." And then they put me right into as a line cook and just start learning different positions. Right, not into a management role because they valued the growth path there.
Yeah.
Right, which at the time I didn't understand, but I really started to learn real quick what that meant.
Yeah,
because they did a good job as far as training and bringing people up through the ladder and so forth and so on. So I worked every position in the deli, got to a point where there weren't any more positions for me, and they said, "Hey, if you're interested, we have a open spot in Addison, Texas as they call it a 2A.
Okay.
So entry-level management." I was like, yeah, it's time for me to branch out.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, packed up my bags because I just broke up with my girlfriend, all sorts of stuff. So timing was right.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, get me out of here. Let's roll. So I went and moved up to Dallas and then started that. And then I met a ton of really cool people through Jason's Deli. And then
how long did it take you to go from getting all that experiencing all the different roles to getting that management opportunity?
Oh, years.
Okay.
Honestly. It was a slow pace back then.
Yeah. And where was Jason's Deli when you joined? Like, it's a franchise, correct?
No, it's
corporate?
mainly corporately owned. They
Okay.
do have a couple of franchises out in like Nevada and things of
Okay.
that nature, but I would probably say I don't know the numbers.
So you're working
but
for the corporation,
correct?
And how many units were they at this time?
Don't remember.
Ballpark, if you had to guess.
130, maybe
Okay,
300,
got it. Cool.
somewhere to 300. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to refrain from trying to get into all the details of everything, because we have two storylines to cover. But anyway, so you get promoted to the management, like basically grooming system, and I guess take up from there.
Yeah, I started walking through that. So then I just worked at different locations here in Dallas. I went from Addison to a position in LBJ, and then eventually got into a GM position in Frisco and worked there for probably 3 or 4 years, running a high volume store, a lot of catering. And at that point, it was like, okay, what are next steps for me?
What was your title when you got to your highest point?
It was general manager.
General manager?
Yes.
And was that for one location?
It was one location.
Okay.
Yep.
And why get away from that? Like, I'm assuming you grew a lot during this time as a professional.
Yeah, a lot of growing, a lot of all that good stuff. Learned every position, learned how to manage people. The list goes on and on. But eventually, you get to a point where there just weren't any district role opportunities, and that's not anybody's fault. Definitely not their fault. It's just I needed something different. I needed what can I do more, right? Because the drive was always still there to grow my career path. And so then I got reached out by a buddy of mine, and he worked for Fuzzy's Taco Shop. So they said, hey, look, Fuzzy's Taco Shop needs somebody over here. We need a training store GM. We know you're a good GM over here, but there's opportunities for growth. And opportunities is always what kind of sells me as I move along, right? I think the quote goes, the heaviest burden you'll ever carry is an empty bag. And that empty bag is relating to all the missed opportunities and all the just the what ifs, right, and the regrets,
right, yeah. And I mean, sometimes you got to take a step back or to the side to have a higher ceiling too. Maybe there wasn't that upward mobility for you anymore. You hit a ceiling with Jason,
right?
Jason's Deli. So you saw that there was more potential with you for Fuzzy's,
correct?
So I'm curious, during this time with Jason's, what did you learn about yourself in terms of, like, if you're becoming a specialist, what are you gravitating towards? What are the things that really get your juices going? Yeah,
honestly, it's all about leadership. So and that's where I learned that quote and that mantra, if you will, about servant leadership.
Yeah.
The late Joe Tatoris, that was the CEO of Jason's Deli back then, they used to have huge meetings about just only that, right? How do we serve our people, and how do we invest in them in whatever kind of day that they're having, to be able to get the most out of them and the most out of ourselves, right? So it was always about being shoulder to shoulder and just working with people to lead them in the right direction and ultimately serving them, not to be the boss per se, quote unquote, but to be a counterpart that they can lean on.
Yeah, I think traditionally we think of the boss. Everyone here that is employed is here to serve me and my business. But the reality is that inverted hierarchy of everyone that I hire now becomes somebody I'm responsible for serving.
Right.
And that mindset of really, I exist to make sure you're successful.
Correct.
Right? It's a huge shift in frame of mind. So what was it like when you joined Fuzzies?
Honestly, a little chaotic at first, but that's okay. Different brand, different switch.
Where was Fuzzies when you joined? This is 2021.
Had 8 corporate stores, and I don't remember how many franchise units we had at the point. I wasn't privy to the details.
Ballpark, if you had to guess.
Probably north of 100, south of 140.
And you were specifically working with the franchisees?
It was the corporate locations that I was working for.
Okay.
So we were the corporate training store to train franchisees.
That's what you got recruited for.
Uh-huh.
Right. So this is new for you, the world of training.
Correct.
Well, you were training as a general manager.
Training as a general manager, but not training franchisees. So that was my real true introduction to the franchisee side of things.
Right. And that's really the biggest difference that I've learned between being an independent operator or corporation where you know, as a franchisor, your new employee becomes the franchisee. So it's still relationships, but now you're, instead of helping a frontline employee be the best at their job and to create opportunity with them within that organization to, say, get to general manager or manager, now you're thinking, okay, well, now my job is to serve this franchisee to help them be successful with their store and to see if I can't help them scale and create more stores.
100%.
So that you're just there to train them at the world of being a franchisee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what was that like for you?
It was good. I really enjoyed being able to partner with franchisees and just be able to show them everything that we were doing in the store, but then to learn more about them, their background, their stories, what were their concerns, because it's a different concern.
Yeah.
They're going to walk in and talk to me about things that at that time I had no idea about, right? And so it was eye-opening, and I really enjoyed that. And I did that for probably a good year or year and a half. And then I made the move to a district manager and was running all the 8 corporate locations.
Okay.
So stepped out of the franchisee part, but then still had my fingers on it because I was overseeing the training store as well through the GM that was there.
Got it. And this is where you met Samir, I'm assuming?
Yes. Samir was after the fact. So once I was a DM, I did that for about a year or so, and then they pulled me into the corporate office to be a strategic business analytics kind of guy.
Okay.
So
this is where the shift from being really server leadership mindseted focused to, they saw something in you where you had the analytic too. And I saw your background too. Like, did you go to school for technology?
I didn't. I went to school briefly for architecture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Still, I think like a technical, like right side. Is it left? Is right is like technical, right? Or right emotional?
There's still a lot of nerd in you is what he's getting at.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. And you're not wrong.
Yeah. So did you have a relationship with Samir around this time, or were you
not necessarily? I was working more with the operations side, and then our CFO at that point. And then once I knew of Samir, because obviously we were in the building, but then that's where our relationship started to bond. And at one point we were all kind of riding to the office together. I was learning more about him. He's learning more about me. And then we were, a cohesive group inside the Fuzzies organization. So naturally I'm going to know and get to know him better.
How did you take to the more technical side of operations?
Honestly, I mean, I loved it because I am kind of nerdy when it comes to that. I've always, like you've just heard my background, it was always boots on the ground. And then to be able to kind of step back and see, okay, what does that correlate to? What does that result in? And how do we drive different metrics off of that? Was really inspiring.
How did this change your perspective or your perspective of the restaurant industry? How did you start seeing the restaurant industry differently?
That there's a lot of moving gears behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you start talking about your controllables, non-controllables, when you start looking at different metrics from guest perspective or franchisee perspective or operational, you start to learn what different departments are doing and how those are all intertwined and start to play. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. So was there a struggle for you in that evolution?
No, I think it was actually kind of natural.
Yeah.
So because it was a slower pace, so I came in, started doing more of the business analytics and project management, and then I moved into an ops services role there because then I was at that point where, okay, I'm collecting all the data, I'm helping the data analysts, I am working with marketing and procurement and IT, and I'm getting all of their assets and information and compiling it into board decks. We had just been acquired by Dime Brands, or no, it was a different brand before that, but it was multiple brands were acquiring us, so there was always different board decks we had to do, quarterly meetings, all that stuff. And so I was kind of the center point, the focal point for everybody to get all that information to and dissect and then to present.
Yeah. Anything about your time with Fuzzies before we transition to talking about Laynes that you want to lay on us in terms of like key points, key lessons, anything?
The key lessons I would say that I took away from Fuzzies would be that it really is about the franchisee. So as when I moved to that corporate office role and was working more with the FAC group and going to the conferences and learning about franchisees and helping them with, you name it, back office systems, third-party integrations, whatever that is, that's where I really learned to say, okay, yeah, it's all about the franchisee.
Yeah.
It's not about us. It's about them and their success, to Cuyler's point.
Right. And if I recall my conversation with Samir, they closed a bunch of locations.
They did.
Fuzzies,
yeah, they
right?
did. For one reason or another, they did.
Is there a lesson there that you pulled from that you want to apply going forward to not replicate what happened in that situation? Or
yeah, I'll tell you that lesson's printed right above my head. I don't know if everybody can see that, but that is protect the brand, protect the franchisee.
And I was kind of getting at that when you were talking about the significance of taking care of the franchisee. Did they let that get kind of away from them, taking care of the franchisee?
I think there was some, and I don't want to badmouth anybody, but there were some key decisions that were made either early on or midterm, but that kind of drove it away from protect the brand, protect the franchisee to an aspect.
Okay.
Maybe got lost. Maybe somewhere in the minutia it was lost. I'm not sure. But again, not bad-mouthing because it's a great company.
Yeah, and the whole point of this is to learn from past experiences, right? And my goal is never to speak badly about anyone. If you're in this business, if you're trying to do it, like, hats off to you, best of luck. But how do we learn from the past? So, like, if you could learn one thing from that, what would it be?
That it is protect the brand, protect the franchisee. So whatever we need to do to make sure that the franchisees are profitable, that they're heard, and that they're in a growing structure, that ultimately flows back down.
And I know it's hard talking about this stuff because you don't want to sound disrespectful, but is there one thing that got away from Fuzzies where they've what's the one decision that happened where they weren't able to protect the franchisee or the brand?
Yeah, I'm not going to say any of that. I'm going to pass on that because those weren't decisions that I made. Right. And it's a great company. Yeah. It's a great brand, and
I respect your decision.
Yeah,
but I got to try, man.
No, you got to push. I get it.
And I have not forgotten about you, Cuyler. Thank you for your patience. We're going to get deep into your backstory now. So, same thing, man. Like, where does it make sense to start sharing your story?
Yeah, I think my story in the restaurant business started like many others in college, right? Went to school and needed to make a little bit of money, and that was my first introduction into serving, waiting tables, and went to the University of South Carolina, so went to a big college town and worked in a sports bar and absolutely fell in love with the industry at that moment. But, then it went on hiatus. Graduated with an advertising degree, moved to New York City, did 2 years there working for a media company, and then eventually moved back to Atlanta where I'm from, and that's kind of where I got back into the industry.
No, and when was that? Help me, because my brain works like a timeline for some reason is how my brain works.
Yeah, so I moved to New York in 2012, so I was there 2012 to 2014.
Okay.
And then I got back into franchising in 2015. So, I never wanted to get back into the restaurant business. I never wanted to be a franchisee.
Okay.
I ended up working for my father. My father was a serial entrepreneur. My father had a media company. I worked for him. And then my father got sick and he got cancer and very young.
That sucks.
And 6 years after he got it, he passed. And so when he passed, he created a legacy that he left, right? And it was a legacy of entrepreneurship. It was a legacy of, if you want to go accomplish something, go do it. And I had a decision to make. I was either, hey, I can go and be safe and just keep working in the corporate world and stay in my cubicle and, do that side of the business, or I can go try and be an entrepreneur. And just always had the itch, especially living in New York City and all the great restaurants and everything and all the the excitement around that side of hospitality. I was like, I just want to get back into the restaurant business. And I knew I didn't understand the business of restaurants. And so I got into franchising.
Okay.
And there was a brand that was local to Atlanta, Tropical Smoothie Cafe. And it was, very appealing to me. And so I, in 2015, signed my first franchise agreement, decided to, take a leap of faith and bet on myself and really get into this business again on the franchising side. So
you worked in a sports bar,
Yep.
and then you worked in the family business media company, and then you bought into a franchise in post 2014.
Yeah, I bought in the franchise in 2015. So
And that was in
right
Atlanta.
after. Yep, and it was.
So why Atlanta? What was pulling you to Atlanta?
That's where I'm from.
Okay.
So I spent 25 years there.
Got it.
Yep, that's where I moved back to after New York City. So my father passed in 2014, and I signed my first franchise agreement in 2015.
How'd you get the money to buy into a franchisee?
My father passed in 2014,
I thought
and there was, it was be safe with that, or it was bet on yourself.
There's sometimes a negative, a weird air with like having privilege,
Sure.
and like I don't think there should be. Like it's like, okay, did you get that money and go burn it on hookers and coke?
No.
Or did you invest it into your future? And like, it's like, what do you do with that privilege?
Correct.
And you did something with that privilege. And with that privilege, you're creating opportunity. You get to be a mentor. You get to do these things. Like, what are you doing with your privilege? It's not bad to have privilege. Don't squander it.
No, of course. It's just, it's a vulnerable topic, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of those where it's, as soon as something like that happens, there's always, how much was left? What is it?
Yeah.
I'm not retiring here,
Well,
right?
that's a big part of the conversation
yourself,
of
right?
how do you become an entrepreneur. Like,
Yep.
you need to raise the money. That's a big part of the story of getting started, right?
Sure.
So it's fun to kind of get into that one.
Yeah, of course.
What was it like? Well, let me ask this. Why Tropical Smoothie? What was it about that brand?
They were local.
Yeah.
They were in a good growth pattern. When I got in, there were 630 units. Their corporate headquarters was 15 minutes from my house. The territory that was available was surrounding the corporate headquarters, so I knew I had the
What are the
support
odds?
structure. Yeah, exactly.
I'm surprised.
So I knew I had the support structure right there, because I knew I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I knew I had the personality and the love and the drive to get into being an entrepreneur, but I had no idea how to run the business, right? So I wasn't going to go open up a independent bar or restaurant just because I would have burned through everything.
Yeah. I think this is one of the best use cases of entering into a franchise agreement is to learn the business because you're being handed the systems and you are literally, all that guesswork is taken out of it. Somebody's done that for you. You still have to learn a lot, but like at least you're understanding like the operation side is being handed to you in terms of like step by step. Here's how to do it.
Correct.
And like you can take all those lessons and apply it to something else later on.
Yeah, and that was it. I knew that I could do the people part.
Yeah.
I've always been able to do the relationships and the people and the mentoring and the coaching and the leading by example and all those things. It was, how do I buy equipment?
Yeah.
Right? What is a recipe?
Right.
How do I make this consistent? And so franchising was definitely the route for me. Knowing ultimately I wanted to just learn everything about the industry, but I had to start somewhere.
Right.
And it was smoothies and flatbreads at Tropical. So, yeah.
So 2015 to how long did you have this franchise?
Yeah, so I signed a 2-store deal, opened up 2 units, then signed another 3-store deal because I was hooked. A year and a half later, opened up 3 more units, and then at that point I was okay. I want to grow. I want to go.
So 2, 3, 3. So
2,
total
3, just 5.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
What was it that hooked you?
Just the interaction. The thing about the restaurant business that always drives me is you get an immediate reaction to what you're selling.
Yeah.
Right? For better or worse, right away whether or not somebody enjoys the product you're pushing. And at Tropical, they still have. They have a great product, and they have great systems and great support. And it was a business to me, as I started learning about the business, it was a business that I could replicate quickly and something that I knew that I could just do over and over again as long as I had the people piece down.
Yeah. As a franchisee, what were your greatest strengths? The people side?
The people side.
Yeah.
I had no issue getting out into the community. I had no issue building a bench. I had no issue investing in people. I think that's one of the biggest lessons I learned and one of the things I see, throughout my entire career in franchising and today is if you can invest in the people on the front end and you can build the bench and you can get buy-in on your team, then it sets you up for the growth in the future,
Yeah.
right? And you're not having to just restart. You're not having to turn over. And that's the biggest headache, I think, on the people is if they're constantly leaving and you're constantly training and hiring, you're just spinning wheels.
Know that I'm resisting to ask you more questions because I feel like that idea of building a bench, I want to get into that, but I'm going to wait until how you're doing that today.
Sure.
I think that's going to come up.
Of course.
So 2015 to when did you sell your franchise locations? Are you still own them today?
So I had got up to 5 units. At that point, I needed to bring in a partner to grow.
Okay. What year is this?
2019.
Okay. So not that long ago.
No.
Okay.
So end of 2018, 2019. The goal was initially to grow with Tropical Smoothie. So, I brought in...
As a franchisee.
So I brought in a business partner. I wanted to go from 5 units to 25 units. Brought in a business partner. And this is where I learned probably my most valuable lesson in being a franchisee and business in general. I gave up control of my entire business in order to bring in the money. And the deal fell flat to grow a Tropical Smoothie. So then we were on the path to looking for a new franchise partner. And that's how we landed on Nuke's Eatery. So Nuke's, they had 3 units for sale here in Dallas, and they had a large territory that we could buy for a franchise agreement. And at that point, we decided to make the move on that, buy the units here in Dallas, and then we signed an 18-store deal for the state of Oklahoma and local in the Dallas market. And that's when I sold. Part of that was contingent on me selling my franchises in Atlanta.
Okay. What was it about Nukes?
Opportunity.
Yeah. What appealed to you? What was it? What was the opportunity?
And again, we'll get into lessons learned.
Yeah.
The product is phenomenal.
I've never heard of Nuke, so help me
So,
understand.
do you know McAllister's Deli?
Yeah.
Same founder.
Okay.
So, Chris Newcomb and his father founded McAllister's Deli. As soon as they sold that off, Chris Newcomb started Nukes.
Got it.
Yep. So, they're right now about 120 units.
Okay. Where's that centrally located?
Jackson, Mississippi
Okay.
is where they're based out of, and then have a Dallas office as well.
Got it.
Yep.
So you saw this great opportunity. It pulled you in. That was 2019?
19.
Just before the pandemic. So that obviously I'm assuming that kind of threw a wrench in your plans.
Yep. So we bought those 3 units. I moved here in May of 2019. Those 3 units needed a little help on the operations side, and that's where we got into fixing those up. And then, we started working through the development deal. Pandemic hits in March of 2020, so we paused all development at that point and, sold the entire thing in 2021. But during that time and with Nukes,
we sold the entire thing.
We sold the development agreement and the stores in 2021. We never opened up a store.
Okay. Because of
the pandemic.
Yeah.
That's where I get into, losing control of your operation and losing control of your business. I didn't have any say in what we were going to do with the business at that point.
Yeah. As a franchisee,
because my partners controlled the entity.
And who are your partners again?
They're people I knew from Atlanta.
Okay. So, but in context of Laynes,
Yep.
like you were the operator or they were the operator?
I was the operating partner.
Okay. And they were, their partnership was financial investment?
Correct.
Got it. Cool. Anything, again, I would pull back layers, but I want to make sure we get to where we are today and how you guys play off your roles, play off of each other. Anything from your story that you want to drop on us in terms of points of evolution, growth, lessons learned, how you carved out a niche for yourself with being the where the rubber meets the pavement in terms of, between the franchise and the franchisor?
Yeah, I think Nukes was my biggest lesson learned. So, McAllister's Deli was an established brand. They did great. Chris Newcomb sold it off. He always wanted a scratch kitchen, open kitchen concept, to franchise out. And that's how we developed Nukes. And it's real sexy and real fun when you walk in. It's a real bear to operate.
Yeah.
And Nukes is where I actually learned the business of how to run a restaurant because of the labor and the prep and the cost of goods and fresh ingredients and all of that stuff. And then it's also where I learned that if the franchisor doesn't have your best interest in mind, then you are going to fail.
Right.
And that concept was very, very locked in on their 20 corporate stores and had no issue implementing initiatives that were great for those stores that had a great AUV and did $3.5 million. But they did not consider franchisees in any of those initiatives, and it really, really, really hurt those people, and it stunted their growth.
Yeah, what I'm about to share, I don't mean any disrespect from it, but what I've learned when I first started this podcast, my vision, my dream was to go to work for independent restaurant owners and to give them the resources, give them the knowledge that they normally can't go out and get on their own because they don't have access to these big corporations. It's how do we bridge the gap? How do we build up more independence? How do we create more owners in the world and fewer 200, 300, 1,000 plus unit operators? How do we spread out the wealth, right? That was kind of my idea. As I learned, I realized that, okay, well, franchises and corporations aren't necessarily evil. There's a lot of good people in all parts of the world. And I've started to open myself up to this more and more. But I am still trying to figure out, what is that sweet spot? And I don't have the answer.
Sure.
What is that balance? What is it? Where is the sweet spot for scale, for, managing relationships? And I do think that it's with the issue isn't so much the business entity as much as the desire to scale fast and the transactional relationships and the you lose a little bit of that emotional human side that is just so focused on big first market blue ocean effect. Let's go scale fast that we become transactional. So how, and I think what Laynes stands for, protect the brand, protect the franchisee, you've baked it into your culture to really protect that relationship. So I hope today to learn, because you're at a really interesting time right now.
Yes.
24 to 41 locations in a year, about to go, add another 40 or 20 or whatever, or 40 in the next year?
40.
So you doubled once, you're going to double again.
Right.
I hope the hell you guys figure out the whole human side of things. That's where the magic is. So I guess what I want to get into now is at this point in your story, you guys are within a year of coming together under this roof of Laynes. With all that context I just dumped on you, what's going through your minds?
Yeah, I think that's everything you just said is exactly why we're sitting here right now. Yeah. It's all the lessons learned, especially from me on the franchisee side of the business. And me being a franchisee is one of the things that I love about this job now on the support center side is I've been able to be in the trenches with these guys, and I've been shoulder to shoulder with them at multiple brands, and I understand the mindset of being a franchisee, and I feel like all of my focus is on the relationship, and all of my focus is on trust.
Yeah.
Because as soon as the franchisees lose trust with us, everything can go to shit.
Yeah. Alex, you came to Laynes first.
Yes.
What was it about Laynes, this opportunity that pulled you in?
So Samir originally had reached out to me and said, hey, we've got an opportunity here at Laynes. And I didn't know anything about Laynes. We had seen it as we drove down the tollway back in the past. And Samir will tell you that same story as we were carpooling to Fuzzy's. We saw her what the hell is that? Right? And we're like, that'll never make it. And then here we are.
Yeah.
Right? So I met with him and I was like, I think the timing's right. Let's have a conversation. So he told me more about what the brand is and where the brand's going. I obviously did my, my comp analysis on brands and, started to, taste what Laynes is. But I'll tell you what really sold me is when I sat in a similar room with Garrett and he really started to talk about Laynes and the passion that was coming from him and just the way that he's so invested in making this work, and he's so invested in our franchisees to also make this work that I was like, okay, this is a no-brainer. This thing's going places because we have the right leadership in place.
How did you know he was invested?
Oh, how do you not know he's invested? You did a podcast, and for people that haven't seen it, go back and watch it. But you can just, that when you talk to Garrett Reed that he's all in. He's 100% in on this brand. He will not let it fail, and he puts franchisees first, and he puts, and he wants to build a solid foundation and a solid core of people like us to help make that come to fruition.
So when you came on board, what was your title?
When I came on board, I was Senior Director of Operations. So I was running operations on the corporate side and then also the franchisee side. So I was part of that initial foundation to be able to run our ops, improve our ops at the home base so that we can show franchisees, this is at least how it can be done, or, go from there. And then also assist with franchisees in the growth and development path that they're on, right? So it was a big part of just getting those 21 units open last year.
So when you say growth and development path, is it like helping them, what are your your goals within this organization as a franchisee? Are you trying to open 2 units, 4 units, 5 units, 10 units, and then trying to help them reverse engineer how to achieve that? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so a lot of our franchisees were first timers. So we have some old schoolers that were here from day one that have multiple units when I came on board. But then also all through last year, we had a lot of people that this was their first restaurant to open up in Laynes. So that's a big discovery point, right? So they're bought in. They've put down their money. They are a huge asset to us and the brand. So their success is our success. And how do we as a team show them the roadmap, right?
Okay.
What do we do to get you where you need to go?
Got it. Alex, sorry. My back and forth here. Cuyler, thank you very much. So same question, like what was it when this opportunity came to you? What was it that pulled you in?
Yeah, it's going to be a very similar answer. So I met Garrett and Samir and Matt and Eric 5 years ago. So I was introduced to them, after I got out of franchising, heard about Laynes and that's when the conversation started. And there was no opportunities, to jump on board back then, but they were all just great guys. And then we've just kept in touch over the years. And then ultimately, the end of last year when the opportunity came available to jump on board, just you come into this office and you just feel the energy.
Yeah.
And you know that there is an opportunity. And that's what this is. This is an opportunity to be on this team. And it's just something that you can't pass up to jump on board and then be a part of something special. And I've always wanted to get on this side and be there for the franchisee support.
Got it. So where were you after Nukes? Were you kind of in a weird tainted place that this didn't work out for you the way you wanted it to? Were you kind of jaded about the world?
I was jaded about franchising.
Yeah.
Had an amazing experience at Tropical, had a decent experience at Nukes, pandemic in the restaurant business in general. There's all sorts of experiences there. But I jumped on board with an independent operator here local in Allen, Texas. And that operator had coffee concepts and then full service restaurant. And then we were also a brew pub. So, we distributed beer, distributed coffee, and then we had retail business as well. So I was with them for 4.5 years.
4.5 years.
Yep.
And you were kind of jaded, like you said, about the world of franchising. Yep. When did that start to shift again for you?
About 2 years into the job I took with Armour, we started talking about franchising those coffee shops.
Oh, okay.
And, all the lessons I had learned, I felt like I could be somebody who could support potential franchisees, that wanted to come on board and franchise that brand.
And specifically, what is it about Laynes that has you really excited that you're willing to leave that opportunity?
Yep. I think 2 things. One, the processes that are in place on the operations side make it very straightforward to run a unit for this brand.
So you're talking about the simplicity of...
The simplicity of the operation is very straightforward. And I think that's step one when you're a franchisee is okay, can I do this? Can I hire people to do this? And then financially, does the return make sense to do this?
Yeah, the model has been proven multiple times from very successful operators. And you're looking at, Chick-fil-A, and you got Raising Cane's, very similar, and you have all the fried hot chicken concepts out there that are killing it. So it's a proven model. Were you concerned about it being a little behind the fried chicken boom?
Not necessarily. I think everybody starts somewhere, right? And I think when you look at Laynes and where we are today, we didn't really start franchising until 2021. So when you look at us now and where we are today compared to some of the other brands where they were 4 years in, 5 years in, we're right there or ahead of a lot of those brands when it comes to development.
What is it about Laynes that makes that possible?
I think Garrett and Samir have made it very approachable to come in as a franchisee, and everything is out in the open. There is no, there's no smoke and mirrors here. So the relationships, here's who we are, right? Here's the process. Here's what it costs. And then meeting the team, that you have a team and a full support center that we're very hands-on when it comes to franchisors. We touch every single point. We're in communication weekly. And I think that's what sets us apart is when you talk to a lot of these franchisees who are now a part of our brand, who are with other brands, it's like, hey guys, sometimes you over-communicate. Sometimes you over-touch, right? And we want that. I want there to be a relationship where it's not just I'm calling you when I need something or you're calling me when you need something.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's unique about Laynes too is that, yes, it's as we know it today, circa 2016, 17, 18, it was when they were developing the brand, they purchased it. Mm-hmm. However, it's like the chicken finger OG, like that sign says behind you, since 1994.
Oh, yeah.
So there's that legacy tied to the brand where it might not be the first in the market to scale, but it's the first that we know of.
Yeah.
Arguably before, there's a whole story between Canes and Laynes. And
Originators, not imitators.
100%.
yeah. So I think having that brand of legacy of the OG is powerful.
100%, I agree with that, because we had a cult following, with Texas A&M and all that. But as they started to scale and to really bring this to life, that OG effect carries weight.
Right.
The simplicity of our model carries weight, and then the quality that we have, we outpace on quality.
Yeah.
So quality, hospitality, it's a win-win-win-win.
Yeah.
When you start to put all the cards in the deck.
Cool. Yeah. So from an operations side, where your job is really, again, looking at all the data and trying to optimize for efficiency, scalability, looking at these giants that had come before, where there's these case studies, right, of, okay, well, these like, did you study those other brands and say, well, this is maybe where they might have not, they could have done better, and we're going to make sure we do better at these certain things?
Yeah, so we're always going to constantly look at everything.
Yeah.
So we don't want to change a lot. Right? We don't want to change fast, but we always want to always look at the details in the data, right? So these bigger brands that have been doing it for a long time, they've streamlined, they've got some efficiencies in place, they've got, better purchasing power for equipment that, otherwise would cost our franchisees an arm and leg.
Right.
So we may not be able to be right there with them right now, but we're always going to look at that. But honestly, our model works, to Cuyler's point. Like, our model works as it is today, right? We can scale it. If it didn't change at all, we could scale this 1,000 units without any changes.
Yeah.
So, but we're always going to be looking at that. And part of my job now, as it is really working with, okay, how do I protect the franchisee from an IT perspective, right? I don't want to throw a bunch of tech costs. We don't want to, go all heavy AI or heavy robotics or do all that, because that ultimately affects the franchisees. And if it's not broken, don't fix it. Right. And then when we start to look at, operations or marketing or procurement or even design and construction and real estate, when we start to look at the designs of the buildings and working on second gen versus prototypes, it's just, we always keep the franchisees first in mind. And then, we're going to make small tweaks here and there as we scale. But, again, what we do today works.
Yeah. So time now is 10:40, just so the two of you guys know. I think, Cuyler, you said you had it on 11 o'clock?
No, I just got to drive to Houston.
Okay. Was it you that said you had it on 11
Yeah, but
o'clock?
I think we might have been able to push it, but I don't have my phone, so it's okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure that
we can keep rolling.
We keep rocking.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm curious about, through the lens of a VP of Culture Operations and a VP Operations Services, like, what I guess has been the biggest challenge for you and your role, and I guess how that plays into the bigger picture? Because it's not every day I get to. What's fun about what's happening right now, like, I had the CEO on the show, I had the COO on the show, now I'm talking to the VP of Culture Operations and the VP of Operation Services. Later today I'm talking to the CDO, Chief Development Officer, and the VP of Marketing. So, like, this is fun, where I'm going to get to, like, really get into the nooks and crannies of Laynes and figuring out, like, how you guys work. I guess who wants to go first in terms of when you came? Since I'm just going chronologically, you're in 2024. What have been your biggest contributions, the biggest struggles trying to figure out? Like, what can you share with our listeners today from your unique lane of, like, lessons learned, ways to do things better? I don't even know what questions to ask you right now, so just start talking.
I would say that's a lot of gray zone stuff right there.
I guess, what do you want to talk about? How do you feel, like, from your perspective of what you do, a VP of operations, Operation Services, like, where can we learn the most from you in your 2 years here? So
Operation Services, again, I think I started off with different brands look at that position differently, right? So it might just be looking at, how much money can we save off of different programs or, efficiencies. But to me, again, I think it's the cohesiveness between all the different departments. Right. So for me, what we're looking to do with this position as we go through this year is, one, and I hope I don't want to steal his thunder on culture, but as we bring on people into this organization, we make sure we're bringing on the right people to continue to strengthen the brand from within at the corporate office and keep that because we don't want to lose that as we grow. We don't want to be overly corporate. We don't want to be overly siloed. We want to be able to have open dialogue and context between all departments, and it's fluid and it flows, and we're having fun with it. Because I think that's where a lot of brands lose touch as they get too big, they scale too fast, and they have 500 plus employees. It's really hard to keep that smaller brand feel and culture alive, right? And I don't want to lose that. I know that the leadership team doesn't want to lose that. And so as we onboard new people to this brand, we want to make sure that that is heavily instilled in them, and not only our employees at the store level.
Yeah.
So I hope I didn't steal your thunder on any of that.
So you're like the human side of that, right? But
Yes.
you're like the technology side of making sure that works, like the systems around that. So what are the systems you're looking to implement, or what, like, I guess in relative to
It's hard to put your
systems
finger
and
on.
culture, like, are you focusing on training systems, culture systems, HR systems?
Yep.
Like, is that where your focus is, or is that more your focus, Cuyler?
It's hard to put your finger on ops services,
Yeah.
right? Because I do touch the training team. So I work heavily with the training team to make sure that, okay, when we go into new units, we're doing exactly what we need to do, and we're setting up for success for the ops team to come in after the fact, right? There's a handoff there between a new store opening. So they'll go from construction, they'll do a punch list, they'll come through, I'll go in, I'll do a punch list and go through, make sure we're 100% set up and ready.
So what does your punch list look like?
Oh, it goes through everything. It makes sure we have all of our marketing, all of our tech packages, all of our prices match. We have all of our equipment in place. It all works. Like, is it a fully functioning Laynes to 100%?
What part do you get involved in with determining what technology to use?
Well, any part.
So
honestly.
is Samir more the executive level looking out trends and then trying to be ahead of it, and you're more about implementing, or do you look out to influence what you adopt?
He trusts my input on where we need to go. He has a vision. They all have a vision on where we need to go, and they'll have input on that. But I need to make sure that my team and I make a decision on what our technology package should be.
Can you share what your tech stack is today and why you landed on that for a QSR chicken concept?
Yeah, it's honestly not too heavy. I mean, so we use HME for drive-through. I think most people do.
What is HME?
HME is just going to be your drive-through technology, from the speaker post to the mics that you use. They're one of the biggest players out there. There's only like a handful of players that do it. So that's our drive-through tech. We currently partner with Revel as our POS. We've had Revel since the day that I got here. It's not broken. We're not changing it. I mean, we're always going to keep looking to innovate and make changes. But again, like I stated before, we want to make sure that we make the right decision for our franchisees. So I'm not going to burden them with, hey, we just want to switch, and it's going to cost you $500 more.
Revel's a local company too, right?
Is it local? Yeah, I don't know where their headquarters are.
Yeah, I know they were a real big player, I want to say like around the time I was starting, saying 2014, 15. Their name was a lot more known. I think a great product. I think the world of marketing and toast has kind of swelled the industry. Why did you choose to stay with Revel? What is it about Revel that you like?
It's easy, but our menu makes it easy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take much to really do the
You don't
day-to-day.
need a robust.
I don't need robust systems.
Yeah.
Are we looking at business analytics tools going into this year? Yes, that's on my radar. So I'll be starting to dive into
Specifically,
that.
what kind of business analytics tools?
Oh, one, I need to up our data warehouse. So we need a data lake. We need all that information that flows from the POS, HME, other partnerships with loyalty, so forth and so on. It all needs to go into a centralized location where we can then query that out. And
What
say,
has your attention right now in terms of options?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've got a few names on the board. I'm going to go attend some conferences this year, talk to some other experts in the field, really start to dive into what options we have.
Right, and you're not necessarily building for today, you're building for tomorrow.
Correct.
So where are you headed? You're headed to 80 locations in the next year.
Right.
So what makes sense for that? Is that custom?
I don't know if it's custom yet. I think there's something that can bridge the gap.
Yeah.
But yeah, in 3 years' time, we're probably going to have to build our own
You're
stuff.
looking for like an enterprise solution tech stack that has its own general ledger tied to the POS.
Mm-hmm.
And does that include replacing the POS too, or do you think?
I don't think it has to.
Yeah, there's probably an integration there. Are you looking at Restaurant 365?
Yeah, we already partnered with 365 for back office stuff.
So what's that not provide to you? Because that's what you're getting at, data, right? So
you get data, but you don't get data from all sources. So you get POS data, but you don't get data from every source because there's not an open API for everything.
Like,
so
what sources do you want the data from?
Well, I don't want to get into that because then that would leak what sources we might be getting into.
Right.
But there are other sources that could go into a data pool so we can say, okay, hey, I want to run a query on how something's performing, not only in store, but exterior, digitally, how's it affecting market flow, guest perception? There's all sorts of stuff you can start to look at when it comes to analytics that drives operations in the right direction.
Got it. Pivot. So same kind of concept, same kind of question. Cuyler, what are you doing? Like, what has like that first? I mean, you've only been here 4 months now.
2 months.
2 months. So you're just kind of getting into it right now, right?
Yep.
So I guess what has the impression been in terms of landing here with your intention to be the middleman between franchisee and franchisor? Like, I guess what's it been like so far?
Yeah, and I think you asked a good question. A few minutes back, it was what's the one thing you've learned, or what's the most difficult thing that you've had to adjust to? And for me, it's my entire career, I've been the operator. I've been able to make all the decisions, and I've been able to impact the business directly. And this role is you're influencing or consulting or doing whatever you're trying to do with the operators, right? And that's been the biggest learning curve for me mentally. Has been, hey, you have to figure out a new way to create a relationship to get a franchisee to trust you in order to have an impact on them, right? And it's got to be natural. It can't be some forced, relationship. And that has been first 2 months of this job has been to just flip the switch on how I think about operations from, hey, you can't just go do. You have to be able to impact in other ways. And that is through relationships, through culture. And that's been the biggest, adjustment / what I'm working on the most.
Yeah, I'm going to read a quote, and I'm dyslexic, so this could be interesting. With extensive experience as a multi-unit franchisee, Esposito is accurately aware of the value of the strong franchise support structure. In his new role, he will prioritize culture throughout the Laynes franchise system while serving as a voice for franchisees to ensure Laynes' unique culture remains the foundation of its operational excellence as it scales. That is from Garrett Reed. So as I'm reading that, I mean, that's what you're doing right now. I guess what stands out to you in that quote?
It's the culture piece, and culture to me is people. And people are the franchisees. It's the support center. It's the employees that work under every Laynes roof, right? Whether we own the stores or not. Yeah. And that you have to build the culture through the relationships, through the energy, through the processes, through trust. And that is 100%, what I'm focusing on. And that doesn't happen overnight, right? That's not, I can meet you today and, you might think I'm a decent dude, but until we get to know each other, you're not going to have the relationship with me. And anything I say to you, you're going to question just naturally, right? And so for me, it's that culture piece, is bringing everything I've learned through working through multiple brands, through owning multiple units, through financing it myself, through bringing on partners, all the different things that I've been able to do over the last 10 years, and having those impacts on me as an operator help leverage the conversations that I have with the franchisees and know what they're going through when they have a conversation about a pain point or a bottleneck. Yeah, I see it. I know, like, I can understand it, and then I can go to the team and say, hey, this is real. Like, this isn't something that we should just brush off. Like, this is going to be a real bottleneck moving forward.
How do we get ahead of it before we scale this into 40 more units?
Yes. Right. Is it 80 this year, and is it 100 and, is it 150, 160 next year, right? At that point, we have to get ahead of these and have everything in place to ensure success from day one. And like Alex said, the handover to the operations team really occurs when the store opens, right? Or days before the store opens. And that's when our team gets involved. And if it's a first-time franchisee, we'll get to know you ahead of that point, so you know who's going to be there with you every step of the way once you open. And if it's an existing franchisee, we already have the right people in place that once the store's open, you have the right structure and support and foundation from the franchisor for long-term success in that unit.
Yeah. Here's a quote from you from that same article that I pulled, the Garrett quote. Esposito said, I'm saying your name correctly, right?
Esposito.
Okay. Yeah. Is that's what I said?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Is that not right?
No, it's right.
Okay, so yeah. Esposito says,
I'm just glad you got Cuyler right.
His primary focus will be supporting multi-unit franchisees and building their own internal benches. And you mentioned this earlier, and I want to get into that. Helping them develop teams to support long-term success. So I'm curious, like, what is the strategy for helping franchisees scale? Is it in focusing on their bench? And what advice, because you said this is something that you've really excelled at in your career, is helping build your own bench back when you had the tropical smoothie franchise. So what advice can you give my listeners on how to build that bench and how to bring people in? Because that's hard today.
It's really hard. And I think the hardest thing to do is as a restaurant operator is to assess where you actually are at the store level, right? And I think, what the main focus on us in Q1 has been, let us solidify store level leadership. And I'm a firm believer that if there's a store that you believe is underperforming, 90% of the time it goes back to store level leadership. But the hardest thing to do when you're growing as a franchisee is assess your people on a routine basis, and are they the right people for the job? And when we say, hey, we're going to go build a bench, it's all right, you have all the right managers in place. We know you're opening up 3 stores this year. What is your plan? How do we invest in the next round of people? How do we get them trained so that it's just routine to get into the next store opening? And on top of that, it's, you have to invest in training, right? And that's also people. And it's how do we leverage Alex's team to come in and certify trainers at your store level so that you can now start training your teams when you go into openings, so you're not missing, dropping the ball on anything. And what I always learned was, if I invest time and I invest energy and I invest money into store level operators that understand the business, they will then invest their own time and energy and the company's money into training the next layer of leaders.
When you say store level operators, are you talking about franchisees or
I'm talking about
the managers?
I'm talking about general managers, right? And then one of the other big things is, when you go to have operators above store level, district managers, area directors, whatever you want the title to be, there's different style of operators, right? You've talked to how many thousands of people. You need to find the right person for what you're trying to do. And you need to know what key attributes to look at when it comes to an area manager and what you're trying to do. Because a lot of times what I have found, and I've made this mistake in my own journey, is, I'm hiring firefighters. Well, it's impossible to grow if you're just putting out fires. Right? It's how do we get away from that, and how do we get to hiring coaches? How do we get to hiring influencers? How do we get to hiring people that are actually going to help your teams grow, not just in the business, but also personally? And those are, like you said, that's so hard to find.
Yeah. You said a couple of things that I don't want to lose. You said hiring the people that understand what we're trying to do. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
What is it that Laynes is trying to do that get that? Like, what is it that they have to get? What is that?
Yeah, I think, when it comes to operators, look at the two of us. Obviously, Alex has the relationship piece. My entire career is based on being able to create relationships, and work with people, right? Alex has the data background that I don't necessarily have, just because I've never gone that deep into that world. Are you hiring, if you're trying to grow from 2 units to 10 units, right, are you hiring somebody that understands how to build a team, or are you hiring somebody that is trying to look at the numbers and look at, P&Ls and operate off P&Ls, and it's probably not the right person for you.
Put in the right person in the right seat of the bus.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. And every unit is a bus, and they have to have the right people. But then they have to have that like vertical growth to move out of that seat and make room for the next person.
Correct. And then the franchisee themselves also has to be able to step out of the weeds and understand the big picture.
Yeah.
And you can't be day to day in this if you're in a growth pattern, and day to day in the weeds if you're in a growth pattern. And it's really just a balance on every franchisee is different, every personality is different,
right.
Every growth plan is different, and it's really just trying to figure out what they need from a support standpoint, where we can provide the best piece of support from our end in order to help them grow without losing track of the store level operations and the profitability and all the other things that drive the business.
Yeah. I've always liked to have this, like, I don't know if it's a saying or a mindset or just this belief that behind every great restaurant's a great person. Mm-hmm. I think Garrett obviously inspired you guys. His vision, his energy, his passion for the Laynes brand, and his desire to like create something so cool attracted you onto him, right? Yep. And every time we open a new unit or we get bigger, there has to be some way to, we can't let, every time we open, this is what I used to believe, that you're diluting that person's ability to inspire, because there's more people between the original vision and energy and the actual end, like, person frontline facing the guest, right?
Yep.
So how do you bridge that source of inspiration, energy, vision, passion, founder, CEO, how do you create a path of least resistance to get that energy to the frontline people? And that's why I think people like the two of you are the most important hires he'll ever make, because they either need to be at his level or higher in terms of the quality of individual, the passion, the discipline. You need to hire up, right? And because you need to make sure that bridge to the end user, whether that be the franchisee or the frontline employee, like that you're carrying that culture through the operation. And that's what I see in you when I talk to you about what you're doing. And I guess, how do you keep that energy strong? How do you show up to either out-energize Garrett or to match that energy? You know?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Man, I love what I do. And in a short amount of time here, I fell in love with the brand. And when the people that work with you firmly believe that you want to be here and you want to come to work every day and you want to do what's best for everybody around you, whether it's the team, the franchisee's team, you can feed off that. And that's what I've learned just with people I've been around in the past and people I've surrounded myself with, is you have to bring that energy and that passion, and it can't be fabricated. It's got to be real and authentic. And I try and do that every single day. And, Garrett's a phenomenal leader. He brings that energy every single day. You never see him off, right? And with the team that we have, it's just trying to pass that down and just trying to emphasize again and again and again, like, you have to be authentic. You have to care. We talk about gaff around here all the time, right? Give a fuck. And everybody, if you don't have it, you'll never survive here. Mm-hmm. If you don't truly care about this brand and you don't truly want to be here and you don't truly see the opportunity that's ahead of us, you're never going to survive.
Yeah.
And that's what, day one when I met Garrett half a decade ago, just bursting with energy and excitement.
Yeah.
And, in the last 2 months, it's here.
What's the average per store employee number? How many
roster count? Like, how many people?
Yeah. How many people does it take to run a Laynes? 4 or 5 people on a shift?
Yeah, you can get away with 5 people in a shift.
5 people a shift?
5, 6 people, depending on volume.
And how many total people are typically employed per location?
I would say probably 30.
30?
Yeah.
I am fascinated with this number called Dunbar's number. Have you guys ever heard of it?
Yes.
Robin Dunbar? Uh-huh. Have you heard of the book The Social Brain?
I haven't heard the book.
So it's a book that he wrote with 2 business-minded people, and they're applying Dunbar's number to scale and where this applies to scale. So you are.
It's interesting.
What is your understanding of Dunbar's number?
It's the amount of people that you can logically hold in your head as far as relationships. I think the number's 200.
It's 150.
Yeah.
Yeah, 150, and it came by studying primates and wild, and there was a correlation between brain size and the number of relationships different primates can handle. So a chimpanzee is 50, and humans is 150. And it's actually a series of numbers. It's 1.5, 5, 15, 50, 150, 500, 1,500, 5,000. Those are the hierarchy of the numbers. And it's in social groups. 1.5 is you and your partner. It's the average, right? Your mate. 5 is the average size of a family. 15 is your extended close friends, your support group, I think is what they call it. And then 50 is a hunter gatherer band, a camp is what where you'd see that. And it's also shows up in military, the way they build those. 150 is where it becomes us versus them. Beyond 150, you're not me, you're not us, you're another. So it's I think it's that magic number because you want to be able to keep things really tight. So I'm curious now that you understand. You both. This is the first time you've heard of this.
I didn't. I've heard of it. But
yeah. So knowing that, I'm curious. Alex, you are aware of this. How do you apply that knowledge into managing scale while actually knowing that this could be a governor on how to intentionally group people?
Yeah, until you brought it up, I hadn't even applied both concepts. So I mean, that's really interesting and something to take home and kind of think about.
I had the book in my trail. Oh, I don't have my camper with me. It's at the campsite.
Yeah, because that's interesting. It goes back to my point. As you get to 500 plus employees in an organization, how do you not become siloed, and how do you keep that culture alive? I mean, it kind of ties into that.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
I think there's definitely correlations. But I think what's cool, if you look at your per shift unit like of employees, 5. That's a magic number. You see 5 in so usually in a fine dining restaurant, like the line is 5. Beyond 5, you need a leader. But under 5, there's some kind of chemistry magic that happens there where everybody knows their job and it just works. So if you had a 5, if 5 is your per unit at a time, like you can, like, things tend to work really well there. It's also the number of a band that works really well. So beyond 5, like you need some kind of, what's the word, a director or something there's a special number 5. 15 could be like the total amount of employees you have per location. Mm-hmm. And then I guess 50 would be once you have like a regional director, they probably can't manage more than 50 relationships. Right. So you'd have to have a new regional manager. And then 150 would be like a director where there's a direct report. But now Garrett Reed doesn't need to manage all the employees, but there's those key players in between that are only responsible for 150 or 50. To keep the top, I don't know what's going through your mind as I'm sharing this. No, I didn't mean to talk that much.
No, yeah, I think you're spot on, and I'm glad you brought it up because I mean it's an interesting concept when you start to apply both tactics to it. So I mean, Garrett and Samir and the team, they travel around and they made it a mission to make sure that they touch base with every franchisee every so often, and that's like once a quarter they're touching base with franchisees, and not just we know the data, we know what's going on. It's about building the relationship. So that I think is a key thing that we're doing or they're doing to make sure that we keep that culture alive with our franchisees and we don't lose touch with that.
Yeah.
Right. So then, how does that correlate into the office structure? We have obviously our meetings, but then we have once a month we get the whole team crammed in here. We're a standing room only at that point, right?
Whole team meaning all the franchisees?
No, not franchisees, but internal team.
Support center team.
Yeah.
And how many people is that?
Man,
28 plus a couple trainers, so
yeah,
just north of 30.
We're north of 30.
Okay.
So you got 30 people.
So you guys are in that awkward phase right now.
Yeah, it's a little,
Because, then they say, like, when you're going from, so it's 5, 15, 50. So between 15 and 50, and then again between 50 and 150, the goal is to get to that next tier as fast as possible. Because there's just something weird that happens where, like, in between those perfect groups, like, things kind of fall apart. So you got to get to 50 as fast as possible and then slow down, build the house, and then rush to get to 150.
Yeah.
Like it's like,
but that goes back to earlier, like we're not going to let this get siloed. That's what we want to build a different franchise or organization. And so we talk about this on every Friday in our calls with Cuyler and Natalie and Patrick about how do we stay cohesive? How do we not become siloed? What messages are we aligned? Are we not aligned? We can disagree, but we're going to leave the room in agreement, right? And then how does that flow down to our teams?
Yeah,
and make sure that we don't navigate through that awkward point because it may not be as easy to snap your finger and say, "Hey, we need to get 20 more people in the building." Right.
So you're at 28 people that are the executive team for Laynes. Is that kind of what's going on?
It's
support center team. Just
support center team.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know this is probably not the easiest question, but what encompasses the support level team? What is that? So you got CEO, COO, DO, Chief Development Officer. You have all the presidents and vice presidents, CFO. And then is it what comes after that? I know we probably can't hit everything.
Yeah, they all have their teams, right? Like Eric's CDO, they have, real estate team, construction team. Then you have Samir at COO. He's got us two plus, I have FBCs below me, franchise business consultants. And Alex has, IT.
So what are the franchise business? Are they between you? So the chain of command or the hierarchy, the flow of communication goes Samir, you, and then business consultants?
Yes.
And then they have their franchisees that they are the direct report to, and you're in the middle?
Well, so we have 3 FBCs. Each FBC is assigned franchisees based on various factors. And then
franchisee does each one of those FBC? What do they call it again? Sorry,
Franchise business consultants, so FBCs.
FBCs.
Right now, they're about 4 to 6, depending on size.
Hey, there's that number right there, 5.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is what I'm looking for.
No, you're right. And then myself as well, just so I don't sit in an office. I also have franchisees that I work with directly as well.
Yeah.
So I'll act as an FBC for a couple of the franchisees as well.
And they all are based out of this office. Your franchise business, or if they're not traveling.
We have one that's been with Layne since 1998.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's based out of College Station. Okay.
Can you get back to that corporate office?
Yeah. So then Alex has his team, which includes training and IT. Natalie, and I might be missing somebody. Natalie has her team, which is going to be marketing.
With the training and IT, what's that department make up? How many people are in that department?
So IT is fairly small. We just have one person in IT as of today, but that's soon to grow. And then for training, we've got my director of training, and then we have 3 people that are full-time on-the-road trainers. And then we have, a branch of employees that still work still at the store that we can pull from.
Got it. So cool. And then there's the marketing team. How big is the marketing team?
Team of 3.
Okay. Including Natalie. Yeah.
So we're getting close to that 28 marker right now with all the names.
And then you have construction and real estate. Got it. That's 5 or 6 between them.
5.
Yeah.
Got it. I wonder, I'm just fascinated by this number and how does that apply? What does getting to 50 look like? And then when you get to 50, is it time to recreate that same thing, but in a different part of the country where you have a different, I don't know.
Yeah, that's hard to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll ever need to recreate it and have multiple regional offices, but I'm not saying we wouldn't either, because it's going to get wild.
And all of this is new to me.
Yeah.
In full transparency, I'm not used to talking to people that are specialists within a greater organization that's planning on growing by 100% year over year.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting.
Yeah, on the FBC side, I think one of the things that we try and do. So yes, the majority of them are based out of the Dallas office or the only office, our Frisco office. And I think, the next 1 or 2 we hire will also be based out of here. We have a belief that, it would be easy if, we have a lot of stores in the East Coast, hire somebody out in Virginia to be the FBC out there because you're saving on travel and this and that. But they're missing the culture piece. They're missing the water cooler conversations. They're missing the team meetings. They're missing all the things that really help us be Laynes when it comes to the relationships and culture. And so we're actually in the perspective of kind of doing it a little bit different than other organizations where it's, while we still can, there will be a point where we cannot do that anymore. But while we still can, let's have as many people in the office as possible so that we are all on the same page. So it's not just Teams meetings and emails and stuff getting lost.
Yeah.
In messaging.
Yeah. I'd love to have another conversation with you guys in the future if you do get a chance to pick up that book and if you do choose to apply it, what does that look like? Because it's really, I think it could be part of the answer to helping companies scale while maintaining strong relationships, because we know it's all about relationships, and it's about keeping those relationships strong. And the more relationships you have, the more diluted they get, because you just can't we can only handle so many relationships. So how do you intelligently engineer that to keep people in pods and silos where those stay strong, but the connection between those pods is also strong?
Right. Yeah. There's a layered effect, but then an overarching group message that's sprinkled in.
And they talk about this in the book, The Social Brain, that nature replicates itself all over the place, these patterns, right? And the same pattern with how cultures grow should be replicated in what the spider. There's a spider plant, and when a spider plant as it grows, it will have a bundle of whatever the fuck a plant does, and then there'll be a vein that goes the next bundle, and it knows that once this bundle gets so big, time to break off. You see it also with the Amish, where Amish, they live in groups of 140 to 160, 70, and when that group gets too big, they start a sister farm to keep it democratic, and they know that at that number you need to break it off. So I don't know. I could beat this to death. So training systems. That's the one thing that I want to make sure we get into. How are you leaning on technology to improve the training systems?
So we have an LMS program, so we utilize Skooks as our LMS. Love that tool.
Why do you love that tool?
Because it's easy to be able to dish out that information quick, fast. You can make changes on the fly. You could send out alerts. You could say, hey, everybody needs to be retrained on something that, or maybe it's just a refresher on how to do stuff. So love that. The operators can then go in and see what kind of efficiency their staff has. Are they completing things? You go into the world of LMS on that. So to me, it completes everything that we need today.
Yeah.
As far as technology on that outside of that, I mean, there's really not too much technology in training. It's really more about boots on the ground and what we do with our franchisees from the time that they come and visit us to get trained themselves or send their 2 operators for their new unit.
How long is that training program?
Training program's about 2 or 3 days for franchisee, depending on their real involvement of the store. Are they going to be hands-on and running it themselves? If they are, then we'll extend that out to 2 weeks. But if they're not, if they're hiring operators to come do it, we'll get 2 operators to come down, and they will stay with our team for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That way, by the time they hit the road, they can go back and hire, and they at least know by the training team gets there, we know that at least 2 people in the building know what's going on.
And are you using Skooks at all levels of training, for training the franchisee to the general manager to the frontline staff? It's all there?
It's all there.
And what about vertical, tangible paths of growth for, the frontline employee?
Yeah, so,
I get hired as a, fry operator. Do I know my potential growth with that organization from day one?
Yeah, so, I mean, we have a base set for ourselves that franchisees could mirror, but really it come down to Cuyler and his team going in and working with franchisees, saying, hey, this is, the growth path, and then utilizing some of the tools that we use internally on our side to do so, because franchisees might want to have a different perspective on what that growth path is. But we do have a system, so it's like, you come in, you learn how to do cook, and then you're, promoted to cashier because, whatever, and then we promoted to shift lead, and then shift lead to assistant manager, and then manager to GM. What are the steps that we need to do to be able to get to where I want to go?
Yeah. Can you guys believe we've been going for about an hour and a half already? You're like, yeah, it's been brutal, man.
Yeah, it's been
hell. What do you want to what hasn't come out of today's conversation that you think should have come out of today's conversation?
That's a good question. I don't think I had any true agenda for today's conversation, so I think we touched on some really good touch points. I would just hope that the message that we went through today really resonates with other people out there and potential franchisees, our franchisees that we have today, all of that good stuff. It's just Laynes is a really awesome brand. We stand on 4 unique pillars that we think are going to hold this brand up along.
What are those 4 pillars?
So hot food fast, PET, which is perfect every time, over the top, which is OTT, and then our 15-to-1, which is going to be based off that Yelp study saying that out of every 15 reviews, only one of them was about the food, and more was about the service. So it's really a service metric. How do we go above and beyond to be hospitable?
How do you get to that number? How do you achieve that number of 15-to-1?
It's a stretch goal that we always have to apply. So, I mean, every day we're saying, how do we get to that 15-to-1? And that's what we drive and strive for. And we even have 15-to-1 pens that we'll give out to employees if they just bleed with hospitality or went out of their way, opened a door on a rainy day for a guest with an umbrella, whatever it is, you name it. It's
the
those
food
small
is the
things.
expectation.
Correct.
The 15-to-1
is what matters.
What people aren't expecting. It's
Correct.
the human element. It's the going above and beyond.
It's what separates you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say if you feel like you're being inconvenienced, if somebody asks you to do something, or if you recognize that there's something to do and it's an inconvenience, that feeling of inconvenience is your sign to go do the thing, because it's inconveniencing yourself for the convenience of others is hospitality. That's generosity.
Right.
That's warmth. That's giving
servant
from
leadership.
yourself for someone else. And train yourself to feel inconvenience is actually a good thing. Fuck yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's get that 15-to-1. This is an opportunity.
Right.
And it's it's a pivot, Cuyler, same idea. Anything you wanted to get out?
No, I think that's, Alex nailed it on the head, and I think the one thing that separates us is our ability as a franchisor to differentiate the relationship side and the service side and the support side of the business. And, this is now the 3rd brand I've been with, and what we do different is we are there for you every step of the way, and then the relationship is with it, right? It's not transactional. nothing we do is going to be transactional.
Yeah.
Everything we do on the ops side is going to have purpose and reason, and it's going to have a why. And I think that's what separates us is we are more, you are more than just a number as a franchisee, right? You are somebody that we want to understand and get to know, and what drives you and why are you in this. And then if you're a prospective franchisee, it's the same thing. You're coming into a brand where we are going to welcome you with open arms, and it's not just because you're a number to help us grow. It's because it's just somebody else in the organization that we're also, betting on, that's going to have the same gaff that we have and is going to have the same love for the brand that we have.
Yeah.
We're very selective in that. Now, I say we. Samir and Garrett and the rest of the leadership team are very selective in who they bring on board because they have to fit what we want as a brand.
Yeah, and that's the being a people picker is one of the best skills you can have, because that's perception, like that's reality. Those people are the reality of your culture. It's not what you say you are. You can have all the fancy slogans, you can put them all over the wall, but what are you doing every day? Correct. And who are those people that you're putting? That's your culture. Yep. Is the reality of what happens every day and the who that you put in place. I want to make sure it comes out. If we're listening to this, audience of restaurateurs, aspiring restaurant owners, your target market, to recruit the right people across the country to be a part of this brand, what is your message to them? If they're interested, if you've piqued their interest in what you're doing here at Laynes, what kind of person are you looking for? What's the call to action?
I would say high energy, quirky, but yet serious. It really kind of comes down to, and I'm going to elongate this, it comes down to the Astro chicken, right? So the chicken represents the goofiness of us, and the awkwardness that we all have as individuals, especially in the restaurant industry. But then it also embodies with the space helmet about
serious, man. Let's go into space.
Tactical.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, mission critical.
Yeah.
So it's the combination of both. And we'll use it on each other around the office all the time. Like, hey, man, you're being too much chicken, or hey, Alex, you're being way too much helmet.
Yeah.
Because I can easily put on the helmet and just go.
Yeah.
But that's who we're looking for, and regardless of the position, you gotta embody that Astro chicken and then come to work every day and get it done.
Cuyler, what's your message?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we're all in line when it comes to what we want out of, every relationship we have here. And I do think it's that the four pillars, it's the Astro chicken, it's the love of the brand. It's coming to work every day and wanting to be here and knowing that it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And if you're going to come in and this is just going to be a job, or if you want to be a franchisee and this is just an investment, it's probably not the best place for you. So, it's really finding those individuals that love what they do, because the restaurant business is a grind.
Yeah,
it's
an
an
word that I had in my
absolute
mind. Yeah,
grind.
totally.
And if you're not a grinder and you're not willing to get after it, then it's just not. It's not the easiest investment. But if you put your heart and soul into it and you put love into it and you invest in the people, it's the best industry in the world, and I'll never leave it.
I do like to wrap up every episode before asking the final questions of like peering into the future a little bit. I think the restaurant industry has been kind of guilty of being reactional. We react to the market. We react to the consumer. We're always just in this reaction mode of survival. How do we get out of this reactive state and into a proactive state of saying this is the future we want for the restaurant industry, and how do we go create that future as an industry together?
That is a loaded question.
That's a very loaded question.
That could be another hour and a half.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. I think it depends on the brand, depends on the journey, depends on the demographic, the markets they're in, it depends on the technology stack. I think it depends on political sways, in our country. And
let me reposition the question. What's an element of the industry you don't like and that we can make it better?
That's a good one.
Yeah. What I don't like about the industry, the restaurant industry, I think it is the overall fact that most restaurants are transactional, right? And so that's what we're striving not to be, right? And I think a lot of other restaurant brands need to strive for the same thing.
So how do we achieve it?
What I tell you is I think that everybody needs to work a restaurant job.
Yeah.
Almost mandatory.
I think that's part of the issue is the consumer is part of the issue. And I'll say it. I think restaurant owners are afraid to say it because God forbid they offend their target market, their clientele, the people that pay their bills. But I'll say it. I think the consumer, I think we've created this ecosystem of the customer is always right. Give. Also, the sheer number of giant corporations that are willing just to make sure the customers are right and give away the house, that we've conditioned the consumer to think that they can be a complete prick and just abuse these relationships. And we have no choice but just to go, please don't write a bad review. You know, like we've created this really weird position. And I think that it does start with the consumer understanding, to your point, go work in a restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, you'll never see me write a bad review. I just won't go back.
Why? What's the point? Don't review with your money.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and do you have thoughts, Cuyler?
Yeah, I think, what would I change in the industry? And I think, or what do I try and focus on with my team is convenience now is just the absolute expectation, especially in QSR, and it's how do we separate ourselves? And I think what we try and focus on is the energy and the positivity we bring to each transaction, the 15 to 1. I mean, we hound that all the time just because if we're going to separate ourselves and if we're going to make somebody's day, especially in a QSR setting, it's got to be immediate and it's got to be authentic. And, it sounds corny, but we always smile through the headset kind of thing, right? Like
it translates.
It does. And it's the same thing in that's why we look at the, cashier as a promotion. It's like you got to earn that. You got to be somebody that's going to give this level of service. And, so many people that go into this industry, it doesn't matter if it's fast casual, full service, QSR, they're going in because they need a job, man. I get that. But if you can just bring the energy to it, I think the industry will give back to you and the customer will give back to you. And yeah, it can be difficult, but at the same time, if we can be proactive in our behavior and proactive in our mindset and proactive in our energy, it's very hard for a customer to then just really flip the script on you. And that's what I found in my career.
Yeah. Okay, some final questions for you guys. I get a lot of eye rolls with these questions. This will be fun.
Lord, here
Get
we
ready
go.
for it. What's one thing about Laynes, a value, a process, a system that makes you guys truly unstoppable? I think I know the answer.
I mean, it's our people.
Yeah. Do you want to back that up, or do you have something else to say, Cuyler?
I mean, we've now been talking an hour and a half, and all I focused on is people. So yeah, I mean, I think
what would Garrett? Oh, sorry.
Protect the brand, protect the franchisee.
That's what they said
right?
too.
I think that's going to be it. I mean, that's the constant, right?
Yeah.
But diving into that a little bit more, it is people.
Yeah, which is a testament to the culture. One of the ways you can tell if a company has a good culture is if the answers to the questions are consistent among all the people that you're talking to.
Yeah,
which it has been. Yeah. The mission statement is to change the world. Who the hell do I think I am? By inspiring, empowering, and transforming the restaurant industry. And I think that we're going to do that by changing one restaurant owner at a time. If we can change restaurant owners, we can change restaurants, we can change communities. But how have you personally transformed? How are you better men today than the men you were when you got started in this industry?
That's a constant development.
Yeah.
I mean, how am I better?
Well, you're better today than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
You'll be better tomorrow than you are today. But how are you better today?
Yeah. Why or how?
How are you better?
I would say it's just really about all the lessons I've learned through all the mentors that I've had throughout my industry, or my career, I should say. I'm a better person because it's all about the perspective of being able to put myself in the position of anybody in the restaurant at any point in time, right? Just like Cuyler, you might answer this, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but putting yourself in the position of the franchisee. So every decision I make now is based off and starts there, right? Nothing will get changed without us going and saying, hey, if I was a line cook in our restaurant today, how would I operate this change, right? Because I used to hate the fact when corporate would push out a new LTO and do all this stuff and bring in all these things and never really cared about the day-to-day person and did it make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
Cuyler, what you got?
I think I've just grown on my mindset on the industry, right? And I think when I first got into this and I first started franchising, it was, hey, this is a great business opportunity. And I didn't realize how many lives you can actually impact, whether it's people that work with you, work for you, or customers.
The community
that you're in. And for me, that's where I think I've grown the most. Is it's now a decade plus doing this. It's how can I impact lives more than it's just I'm here from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
And man, if you would have known me when I was 24 and signing up for my first franchise compared to where I am now, just the whole mentality of how I look at the industry has changed for the better. And if you're in this long enough, you can get jaded in certain aspects for sure. But at the same time, I choose to be positive about every aspect of the industry, and I choose to want to love the industry and do what's best for the industry and the community and the people. And that's where I've massively changed my mindset is.
Yeah. And I think that's massively why the restaurant industry has the potential to change the world. Because if we can change the outlook of all these owners and these the values of these leaders and these executives across the industry to prioritize that over profitability, not to say that profitability isn't important, but it's just the fuel to drive the purpose. But the purpose is to do what you're talking about.
Yep.
And if we can, I think we kind of get that little tail wags the horse or cow or whatever the fuck, dog. I'm in Texas. Sorry.
Excuse me.
I'm in Texas. My neighbors are cows right now. Anyway, I digress. Cows wag their tails too, don't they?
They do. Yeah.
At some point.
It
Sure.
works. It works. If we can do that, it will be really powerful. Guys, thank you so much. I usually ask this other question. It's hard with two guests, but I'll let you guys take a crack at it. If you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants would be lost with your departure, with the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom that you could leave behind for the good of humanity and your legacy. What would those 3 pieces of wisdom be? I know. That's the eye roller.
So, I mean, I'll take my first stab at this, and I'll go back to where it all started, right? I didn't want to be in this industry, right? I didn't want to be a franchisee. And when my old man was fading into the next life, right, we had a lot of these conversations. And a lot of it was legacy-based. And a lot of it was, the cliche, leave the world better than you found it. But I do think in this industry, we have that ability, especially on the personal level.
100.
And for me, it's I would love my legacy and what I would leave behind to just be how much I love the people and how much I was able to help people along the way.
Love people, help people. Is that 2 or is that 1?
That's 1.
Okay.
Impact. Oh, man.
That's a tough question.
It's really just the impact you leave on people that you've worked with, and then also, I'd be ashamed if I didn't mention just the kind of man I am at home with my family and that side of it, and being able to balance this industry and this job and then the family side of it.
So lead with love.
Lead with love.
Make an impact. Make time for family.
Correct.
What you got, Alex?
Damn, that was good. I was going to say the same thing, about...
You can double down.
Because your attitude and how you face every day, every situation, every encounter with another human being, it matters, and it alters the way that they go through life. So, yeah, love people, right?
1.
Adjust your attitude.
2.
Dance naked.
3. Let's go dance. This has been fun, guys. I do try to find my future guests for my current guests. So after going through this experience, the majority of my guests are owners, restaurateurs. Mm-hmm. Who are your biggest idols out there? The people that in the restaurant industry that you admire the most, that if you could be more like this operator tomorrow, you'd start doing that. Like who do you respect and admire and think I should get a guest on the show?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I have two mentors. My previous, the previous organization I was with, Armor Coffee, Armor Brewing Company. I was an operating partner there, and the owner of that organization was a husband and wife, but Michael Todrick.
Todd?
Todryk.
Okay, Todrick.
And Mike, he was 17 years in working for Abbott Pharmaceuticals, and then decided to get into the restaurant business.
Wow.
And I bet you he's, first of all, one of the most exciting guys you'll ever be around. The energy is fucking unbelievable. 2, his perspective is probably interesting, going from a very, very, very solid career to
high risk.
Yeah. So he'd be a great guy, and I'm sure he would do this. And his wife, Jen Todrick, is also part of the business. Also would be a really interesting group interview just because she's an influencer and an HGTV personality. So they're interesting. And then my other is my mentor, Courtney Smith. She's been in this industry for 30 years. La Madeleine, Corner Bakery, Nukes. She was with Olo, Monkey Media. So she's been on the catering and sales side from her start. But she has tons of experience all the way through, has been with brands that are massive. And
So she's a marketer?
She's always been in,
marketing.
and in catering.
Got it.
Sales.
Courtney, Mike, Jen, look out. I'm coming after you. Did I cut you short?
No, you didn't.
Alex, you got anybody that comes to mind?
One of them is no longer with us, so that doesn't work. But I'd say the previous boss I had, Paul D'Amico, is a good talk. He'd be a good person to get with.
Paul D'Amico.
Yeah, he's been with multiple brands and hotels and all sorts of stuff. So.
Nice. Paul, Mike, Jen, Courtney, I'm coming after you guys. I'd love to get you on the show. Cuyler, Alex, guys, thank you so much for making time for me in your busy day. I know you weren't expecting to do this today. It popped up in your calendar.
It's been awesome, man.
You handled it really well.
It's been great.
Yeah.
You were incredible. And it's not easy to get open, to get vulnerable, and to get generous with your time and knowledge. So I can't do what I do without people like you. So thank you so much. There is no questioning. You are unstoppable.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.